Hi, I'm Dr. Marcus.
And I'm Charlie, and this is the Mood Booster podcast.
In this podcast, we share evidence-based tools, tips, and advice to help boost your mood, improve your well-being, and find joy in the everyday.
We talk about life's highs, lows, and everything in between with real stories and reflections from our own journeys.
With pillars rooted in introspection, connection, and presence, this is the home of well-being and joy.
This episode is on gossip, isn't it?
Didn't you hear?
Very good.
It is indeed. It's a blooming great episode. We really unpack what gossip is, why we gossip, whether it is always bad or actually whether we can have pro-social gossip.
Of course. We look inwards as well to see, as you just said, why we gossip. Maybe it's a confidence or a self-worth thing as well.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting. Maybe gossip with someone about this episode, who knows?
Yeah. And importantly, as always, we share advice about how to deal with gossip towards the end. So,
of course, yes, stay tuned for that. Hopefully you enjoy the episode. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
Welcome to the Mood Booster podcast.
Hiya, how are we?
Episode 21.
Bente or no?
This episode is on gossip.
Gossip, it is indeed. How exciting.
Have you heard about that thing which happened?
Let me tell you, basically, this thing happened last week.
No gossiping, please.
Excuse me, stop gossiping. Yes, this episode,
yes,
21, is on gossip.
It is indeed. Yes, it's a very, very exciting episode. We're going to go a little bit into whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Why we gossip as well.
Gossip in all forms, like you say, whether we think it originates from a good pro-social thing or whether it's more inherently negative. How that leads into our own well-being and what it contributes to our own emotional states.
Yeah.
And moving on from that, not only theory, but as always, stick around for the end because we will have advice about how to navigate gossip.
Some tools and tips for you on if you gossip, if your friends gossip and you don't necessarily like it as well, how to handle that.
So let's get into it.
Very excited for this one.
Yeah. Lovely job.
Do you gossip, Marcus?
No! Yes, I do.
I don't gossip.
Yes, I do. I'm not, what's the word, immune from or above the discussion of gossip.
Do you remember that conversation where I was on my high horse telling you not to gossip as much?
Yeah. All the live long day. I want to talk about that today, actually.
Do you surprised me with that one then, haven't you? Didn't want to plan that.
Firstly, though.
Yes.
How are you? How was your week?
How am I? How was my week? Thanks for asking, firstly.
Oh, that's okay.
I think the main thing to consider, come back from holiday recently, which was, again, absolutely lovely. I think the change in pace of lifestyle as of recently was something to note. I think going from something which was objectively 0 miles an hour, intentionally switching off to 110 miles an hour, back the lifestyle that we have given ourselves with everything here, I think was quite an adjustment. Even though it was 2 weeks, I think it was still something to adjust to. So I think over the past week was a little bit almost burnt out, I'd say, just by a bit of life. I know it almost sounds silly to say because I just had 2 weeks off relaxing and recuperating. So I think something that I noticed within myself was so soon after coming back, almost feeling like, am I actually burnt out or am I just like not able to cope with like the lifestyle that is this? It was a weird one actually because, I wasn't trying to make myself feel bad for feeling burnt out, but after such a lovely holiday, which not many people get to experience and the privilege which goes in that, coming back to a lifestyle, which is also very nice, feeling just burnt out, run down, just like, this is too much, that sort of contrast. I was actually sitting with, is it wrong to feel like burnt out? Because a lot of people wouldn't even had the holiday in the first place. So then me saying, I've come back from this gorgeous holiday and now it's too full on again.
Yeah.
I don't know, it felt like a sort of privileged thing to feel or say even. So I wasn't sure how to feel it, but this week I'd say, just feeling a bit just overwhelmed with a lot of things going on.
Thinking back to our episode on burnout, we discussed several different theories and ideas, but I remember one of them was, that was about choice as well, but it was kind of when what you're actively doing in terms of a cost-benefit analysis is less enjoyable, the outcome of doing it is less enjoyable than the input or the cost. Yeah. So, for example, exerting all of this energy, staying up late, doing whatever, if that's not enjoyable and it's not a pleasurable thing, then that adds to the risk of burnout and feeling burnt out. Yeah. I wonder whether that's something to...
No, I mean, I very much enjoy what we do, so I don't think it's an enjoyment thing.
Well, I don't know, because in the last week we have had some tricky conversations, haven't we?
Some arguments, one may say.
Yeah, not to go straight on a on a downer, guys, but yeah, I think it's important just for the sake of transparency, and we wanted to mention this today, not into
Of
too
course.
much detail, but um, yeah, I think just where we pride ourselves on being very communicative, some might say over communicative, but is very good level for us. We are always checking in on, expectations, but where we're at, where things are at with this work, within our friendship, all those things. I think that hadn't happened for a couple of weeks, if not longer. Obviously, where you're away and then busy before that. I think when you got back, we were kind of just straight back into it, and then there were just some things that between both of us mutually were sort of unspoken and just led to a bit of friction and continued discussions over the course of the week. So that's kind of what I was alluding to when you come back and it's like go straight heavy again or fast again, and it's not necessarily enjoyable because you're having what were objectively in the moment not nice conversations as a result of lack of communication previously.
Yeah.
It probably felt like maybe, I don't know, it's for you to say, maybe like, what is this for? Why am I spending all of this energy when it's just a bit miserable at the moment?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we weren't miserable, obviously, and we're still caring for and minding and looking out for each other and ourselves. But
Yeah.
when you're constantly having over a few days conversations that are a bit, yeah, not roses and laughing and having banter all the time, as it might appear is the case, it might be, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it added to it 100%. I think it was that mixed with just the pace of life going back, it not being a particularly nice environment to launch straight back into, from what was objectively very relaxing and soothing. So I think just the change in that led to this week being a little bit lower than typical weeks are, but again, it doesn't, even though these weeks happen or these days happen, they don't happen forever. And it's these lows which allow the highs to feel high as well.
Yeah.
So whilst I can sit in the lows and sort of appreciate them for what they are as well, I also know that going forward they don't define what is going forward. It's just, it's just as important to have them as it is the highs, like we did on the weekend.
Yeah.
We went to Good Vibrations,
we did.
festival down south of London. Really cool festival.
Yeah,
very, very hippie, wasn't it? Very nature oriented.
It was
Yeah.
indeed. Shoes were kind of not a thing there.
Barefoot, yeah.
An Apple Watch most certainly wasn't a thing there.
My God.
We went with the podcast for work, and kind of immediately were like, oh, I don't know about all of these films or these videos that we had in mind, because phones were kind of, it just felt slightly out of place. Not any a bad thing, but it was very much focusing on being present, being here, and that the content creation wasn't necessarily something that we just felt was conducive with that. We still managed to get an amazing video from it and really lent into it and had a lot of fun, especially as the day developed into the evening and people were being very receptive and having a laugh with us. But
it changed quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, to start with, we were like, okay, we got to think on our feet, because
in the first half an hour, you were looking to take a picture with some cool sunnies on, and this lady was just like, they're for sale, they're not to take pictures with.
She like snapped. I was like,
golly.
The irony, we were literally about to buy them.
Yeah.
We were just having a photo beforehand. We were literally laughing and just being giddy, having a silly time. And she just was not in a way.
She wasn't.
I was like, your vibrations aren't good, my friend.
Your vibrations are low. And whether it was the psychedelics from the previous night wearing off all the guys or the shrooms, whatever it was, the morning's vibrations were a lot slower than the evenings. You could tell as the day went on, as the sun setted, people were like just a lot more receptive to the idea. I think at lunchtime we had a bit of a stock take, being like, what do we actually want to get out of this? All of the videos which we had planned for this day were not going to work, so we had to sort of pivot on our feet there and think of something different.
Yeah.
Still got lovely video out of it, sort of going over the brief history of the mood booster so far, what we've spoken about. It's out now, which is a great video.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think overall it was a lovely weekend. Camping, seeing the stars, fire.
Yeah.
Very
definitely.
primal.
We sat for a couple of hours with a campfire, just like staring at the stars,
Crazy.
just talking about like all things, I don't know, spirituality and everything.
Yeah.
And
Really cool
I think I
conversation.
saw 8 shooting stars.
I only got 4.
8 and 4 is just incredible. It was the most sort of, I don't know, it was just really grounding and a lovely moment there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lovely weekend. But just back to the point, don't get it twisted. Obviously, as much as we annoy each other, we have a lot of love in the park for each other.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It was, everyone has these arguments, and I don't think we want to
Yeah.
perpetuate that. It's like a idyllic, perfect lifestyle, because no one's is. What we're trying to do here is be real, trying to set realistic expectations for everyone in what we do.
Yeah.
So we thought it was important to bring that on here as well.
Yes, but yeah, in other news,
Yes, how was your week?
well, one of the reasons we were making this video at Good Vibrations was because we hit 1,000 followers on Instagram, which is super exciting.
It is really cool.
Exciting. 1,000 people now at the time of recording. 1,300 people. We've just absolutely sort of loving seeing the interactions and people getting involved, and just to me, the idea of 1,300 people standing in front of me is a crazy idea. It's very overwhelming. So it's crazy, and
it's so easy to, when you hit 1,000, look at other accounts you're on, other tens of thousands, 40, 50, 60,000. Like, if you imagine it, 1,000 people in front of you is terrifying.
Yeah,
it is terrifying number.
Yeah, it is.
So I always really cool milestone.
To give myself a visual representative, my school was around 1,000, I think 500 students. Okay. So I always think about like doing the giant school photo. Wow, and like imagine standing in front of that many people, which is a lot of people.
It's really cool.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. So yeah, really, really cool milestone that was, I think.
Thank you for the Instagram support.
Yes.
It was lovely to hit it, and we keep going.
We keep onwards and upwards.
We are
join the shooting stars.
We are there. We are high. We are up, but we're only going further up. Join the shooting stars.
Join the shooting stars.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So, did you hear?
If you're about to gossip me, do not. I don't want to involve myself with any gossip, because gossip is bad.
I'm so interested in today's conversation. Gossip is such a part of everyone's lives, and as much as we might think we're immune to it or we're above it, let's be real. If you are introspective for 1 second, you realize you engage in gossip, and most 95 to 99% of people entertain or engage in some form of gossip. And it definitely has its impact or a connection to our well-being. Hence why we thought it would be very interesting to talk about, debate, and unpack a bit today.
Agreed. I mean, actually, maybe not even agreed. I think you can be very intentional with gossiping and trying to distance yourself from it. I think it's one of the reasons why this episode theme came out. It was actually, I think it was Jude's idea, my younger brother. I think we were talking about it. He's also quite intentional with just distancing himself from any sort of, talk about anyone else. He's really intentional with it. Like, we were on our sailing holiday on the boat talking, and we were just chatting about some people, I think, or one of my mum's friends, whatever it was. I don't think it was quite that, but chatting about someone or something. And then Jude was like, can we just talk about our actual holiday instead of, talking about someone else here? Really, really intentional with it. So whether...
That's nice.
No, it was really nice to hear. And I remember you and I having the conversation as well about a month or two ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember what we were speaking about, but I was saying to you, like, why are we talking about other people here? What is going on? And you very much were trying to call me out for being on my high horse.
Yeah.
When I was trying to say, what is this actually serving us for talking about this other person?
I mean, that specific example, yes, because I won't say what I was talking about. Because it involves obviously people, but we were in, I think, Rome, and I mentioned that you might have been thinking of something else, but I mentioned something about a situation, and you kind of very much shut it down and were like, more or less, excuse me, I don't want to be speaking about other people. We don't need to be doing that here. To which I was like, interesting. I take that on, but let's also think about all of the times that you might have brought up something to me about someone or something. And I already have examples in my mind, which again, I'm not going to say, because yes, we try to, and maybe in that moment you were being more conscious about it, but we have lapses in, and I think I personally think we should maybe uh, try and move away from thinking we are immune to or completely above it
I think it depends on
when
the intention as
we
well.
inherently all engage in it in some way. Yes,
Yeah,
and unpacking that further for
yeah,
sure. Intention is a huge thing, and the nature of gossip itself,
yeah.
very context always important.
Of course.
However, the phenomenon of gossip itself, I
Yeah.
think humans innately engage in personally.
Well, so much of what we speak about is communication and open communication, and communication is not always about the good things or about just life is completely positive, because it's not. And I know people who see life through these sort of, unhealthy rose tinted glasses, and everything's got to be completely perfect. I used to be like that as well. So sort of leaning on what you're saying with gossip, if it's in my mind more of you venting or sort of asking for advice about a situation which involves another person, whilst that might be more negative inherently, the intentions are there to either reflect, heal, or it's more centered around, did I do something wrong? Like, how would I navigate the situation? This person's wrong because of this reason, instead of typically more, maybe sort of media style of gossip being like, oh my God, did you hear about this person do that, for no other reason than just stirring trouble or just creating
Yeah,
gossip.
yeah,
So for my mind, the
What
intention
topic?
there is,
yeah.
it's very clear cut, but there's context, isn't it?
Which leads me to what I think is important of how we actually define gossip.
I think we should probably try.
Because yesterday, again, in the context of this recording, we spoke to people on the streets of London for our street interviews yesterday, and a lot of people have set ideas of what gossip is,
Yeah.
and it is something that actually let's look at. We have the schema around what it is, or colloquially what we think it is, but actually, let's say we have pulled up here what the Cambridge and Oxford dictionaries separately define it as, and maybe it could be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Cambridge define it as conversation or reports about other people's private lives that might be unkind, disapproving, or not true. I think within that, it's discussing people that aren't present in that moment as well, and about their business, that is when they're not there, that again might be disapproving, unkind, or not true.
Yeah.
Oxford Dictionary defines it as casual or unconstrained conversation or reports about other people, typically involving details that are not confirmed as being true. So they're a bit more neutral and don't necessarily say whether it's unkind in nature. It still might not be true, but just generally having unconstrained conversations about other people that aren't present.
Okay.
I personally, as I often do, challenge what I'm seeing. And I saw a whole trend of people yesterday being like, gossip is bad, it's this, it's wrong, we shouldn't be doing it. And I'm like, hold on a minute. I completely agree with that. I'm not disagreeing that a lot of gossip can and should be negative,
Yeah.
or not should be, but is negative. What's funny?
Is you talking about these people from yesterday, you gossiping about
Maybe, maybe. Gosh, isn't that meta?
Wow.
Wow,
How
crazy.
progressive.
Have you heard?
Good song.
But what was I saying? So yes, the majority of us think it's bad, but actually, and just challenging that for a moment,
Yeah.
is there scope for gossip to be sharing? Yes, it might be the person might not be there, and they might not necessarily want that business to be shared, but you might have an intention of being like, oh, I don't know, I saw this person. I found out that they're expecting a baby. They're going to be an amazing parent. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
That is sharing someone's news who's not there, but your intention is potentially pure and being like, I'm celebrating that for them with this
great.
other person in this moment.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, because with that, again, if the intention is pure coming from that person, I think there's nothing wrong. I think it shows loyalty, trust, and just if you're bigging people up behind their backs, that's a great trait in friends that I look for as well. Is how do you speak about people behind their backs? Is it good or is it bad? What are you saying to other people about these people? However, there's also the argument about, I know this is a bit more sort of spiritual and up there, but inviting in bad energy when you share things like that for other
Yeah,
people on their
100%,
behalf.
100%.
There's no research or science to this, so maybe it's not quite aligned, but the evil eye,
Mm-hmm.
people's energies, even though they may seem good, often can be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what the evil eye is for, is to repel the bad energies. But
Yeah.
even if you were to share something, say for instance you had like an amazing run, for instance, and I go to someone else and say, Marcus did this amazing thing, absolutely fantastic. My intention can be pure. From my end, that might be categorized as good gossip. It's good, it's healthy. However, I might be unintentionally inviting in some bad energy towards you.
Okay.
Because some people, I think people from all angles, you'll often find have subconsciously even their own intentions,
Motives.
their own motives, whether it stems from jealousy, envy, their own limiting self-beliefs. Especially if you're doing well in life, people not often always like it. And
Yeah.
so you've got to be privy to that.
I completely agree, and I think that might be the case. And I think I'm very much looking forward to us unpacking why people gossip as well,
Of course.
which is partly that of what you're saying. But coming back a moment, for example, I don't know. Let's say we know you're. Sorry to. I hope this is okay to bring up, but you shared recently your grandma passed away recently.
Yep.
That's your mum's mum.
Yep.
And obviously it's been an extremely hard time for your mum.
Of course.
I have on numerous occasions, after the holiday as well, been like, "How's your mum been?"
Yeah.
Not because I have any ulterior
No, of
motives,
course
but
not.
because
Yeah.
I'm interested in
Just checking on her.
how you are, also how she is,
Of course.
and see how things are. Now, that isn't something that's like us solving the world. It's not us coming up with new ideas or, being critical thinking about, different theories or, you know what I'm saying? We're not having
It's just
intellectual
simple-
conversations.
Yeah.
But I also, in a social sense, and we are social beings, have on some level an interest in how your mum is doing. And you updating me, potentially, if we're going by the definitions, is telling me something about information about someone who's not present
Yeah.
and updating me about their business.
See, it's funny. Maybe this is on me to challenge, but I wouldn't necessarily even categorize that as gossip. For me, that's more chit chat. But then again, that goes back to how we define gossip. Is gossip purely just talk between people about someone else? Is that it? Is
Someone's business who's sharing someone's business who's not there, according to Oxford, anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can. I think we so are ingrained to associate the word gossip
with negative.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not here saying that isn't the case. I think the majority of gossip probably is negative. However, I see that there is an evolutionary mechanism in there as well, that we have evolved to be social beings who talk from a survival space as well.
I mean, I can imagine that we actually want to, as you just said, evolutionary beings actually want to surround ourselves with people. We obviously find safety in numbers, in groups. It's why we do certain things, is to appear like we're one of the normal people. It's why we dress a certain way. It's why we look a certain way, is to look like people. And I imagine that very easily stems into conversation. So if people are talking about something, it's the natural thing to want to talk about it because it makes you fit in.
Yeah. But also from an evolutionary survival perspective, we need to survive in our tribe. We need to know who's safe. We need to know who's not a threat.
Yeah.
Things like gossip enhances things like group identity, being part of a group. It allows us to share information about who might be a threat in terms of who's maybe doing things morally incorrect or, against what might be serving the best interest of that group. Like I say, it gives us that social bonding and gives us that sense of identity within our larger tribe, and allows us to feel connected and safe. And having that the shared information allows us to know where the threats are coming from and all those sorts of things. Now, I'm not saying in the 21st century, I'm not excusing and being like, oh, did you hear this person's, I don't know, something ugly, like it's a horrible thing to say, like this person's gained weight or something stupid like that. Like those things aren't acceptable and should never be.
Of course.
So I'm not excusing those things, but there are mechanisms that explain why it is a universally shared and adopted practice.
So in the modern sort of version of that, for instance, say we have our tribe and say there's a couple down the road and someone says, "Oh my God, did you hear that? X person cheated on Y person," for instance. An evolutionary reason as to why that might be occurring as gossip is because that'll be letting our loved ones know where there might be someone who's not truthful, or who might be a liar, or
Yes.
who might deceive us as well.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I have here moral theory.
Yeah.
So like the moral hypothesis, which links in with the evolutionary drives, which we just mentioned. Notes we wrote earlier.
Yeah.
Gossip, especially pro-social gossip. So gossiping with other people allows individuals to enforce group norms and regulate behavior without direct confrontation. In other words, instead of stepping into or confronting someone directly about bad behavior, which could be risky to your, again, from a evolutionary perspective, if you're confronting someone, that's a threat to your life potentially. It could also just be uncomfortable. It then stimulates the stress response, your sympathetic nervous system, cortisol's flying around, adrenaline, all those things. So instead of that, we share information about them with others, which influences things indirectly, like reputation, and guides group dynamics and protects each other from being taken advantage of. So if we're sharing, we don't think about it like that. We just think, oh, we're being vicious. We're sharing. We're small talking. But potentially, from a moral and evolutionary perspective, understanding those morals from sharing that information instead of just directly confronting someone, it allows us to be a bit more safe in acquiring knowledge and understanding what's right, what's wrong, and who we associate with and who we don't. Now, again, there's so much to critically think about that in terms of rumors, making up information, all of those things.
Yeah, what your intentions are. Is it actually
yeah.
just is it to feel safe? Is it to like point it out? Or is it just to be nasty because you're jealous or you're envious? I think, again, it goes back to the intention of why you're bringing it up. What are you looking to get out of it, I think, is a huge part. Why are you saying what you're saying? What's the reason there?
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that both of those theories basically say that we're hardwired
Yeah.
out of a safety sort of mechanism
to protect and have some sort of moral justice.
Yeah.
Empirical evidence even to support it. Do you want to hear?
No.
Fair enough. Should we go? We done?
Let's just wrap it up.
Cool. Bye, guys.
Yeah. What's the evidence then?
So Feinberg and colleagues in 2012 conducted. Was it 2012 or 2020? 2020 or 2012? I can't remember. Anyway, regardless, conducted a series of experiments where participants were in a simulation and they were watching someone else in a simulation be part of a game, and they either was seeing someone cheating in the game or not cheating in the game, and it was all about like getting the rewards and financial gain from this simulation of the game. They found that participants who observed someone else cheating were a lot more inclined to and wanted to let future players who they didn't even know about the cheating, and even at the cost of they would take some of their own reward money away to be able to let someone know about the cheating in the future, which shows that there's some sort of like moral desire for justice and to let other people know about potential threats or other people doing wrong.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And that was literally found in I know it's an experiment, so how representative it is to real world, we have to question those things. However, in general, it's a very interesting finding. Someone was willing to drop their own money to share information about someone else that they didn't even know.
It's funny that links straight back to the theory about it being for a survivorship or it being for survival. It being
looking after
the
others.
reason that is they're just saying we tell someone about someone else about their bad qualities to survive, to look after other people, where it actually get to a point where we're actually giving away something of our own. So in the modern world, how that would translate, it's very much like, of course we'd gossip about people, or of course we'd say or tell someone about something's negative thing, or if this couple did that, or if that person did that, because it directly links to us sharing survivorness, survivorship.
Yeah, and there is also evidence on the breakdown of gossip. And what kind people share in proportions or percentages.
Okay.
So we've obviously spoken for a moment now about the different types of gossip and what we think are potential types of gossip, or whether it's all bad or not. Well, Robbins and Karan actually looked into this and wanted to understand what different types of gossip are. Now, they worked with, I think it was 460 or just under 500 participants over numerous days. It was diary-based and recording-based studies where they would record and read reflections from all of these participants and analysed all of these recordings. That's no mean feat, I can tell you, as a qualitative researcher. But they found basically only 20% of people's gossip was exclusively negative. Out of all of these 400 and, let's say for the sake of argument, 490 participants, only 20% was exclusively negative. The vast majority was actually neutral and just sharing neutral information that wasn't emotionally charged or negative or positive, updates about people's lives, those sorts of things. And then roughly 9%, these are rough estimates, but roughly 9% was then positive. They're engaged, that's amazing. They're going to be such a good parent, whatever it is, with a clear, distinct, positive tone to it.
Very interesting. So that's really interesting, because we obviously would just naturally associate gossip to be negative, to be talking bad about someone behind their back, whereas most of it can just be neutral chit chat, showing that even from this research, it shows that not all gossip is negative. It can just be
how's your mum?
The actual thing. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I found that interesting.
So it does lend itself to gossip not being negative.
Not always. Now, that is the intention. Yeah. I question the utility and all of the things, which I would love to speak about more. Like, why are we... Because there's that phrase, which I don't necessarily... I'm not saying it because I fully agree with it, but it's like, small minds talk about other people, average minds talk about other things, and
big minds talk about
creating ideas or something going like that. Forward, no, I don't fully endorse that, and I think that's very reductionist.
Instagram post with like a lone wolf.
It's ridiculous actually. It's very much giving moral superiority and intellectual superiority. But I do think there's a lot to speak about in terms of the utility of gossiping beyond just an evolutionary drive, because it's far beyond that now, I think. So firstly, I think from a social perspective, it's evolutionary driven, I think, but like pleasing other people, trying to impress someone in a social situation. Do you think?
I think so.
Do you want me to give an example?
No. I was just thinking about it. I definitely think so. I think it's... I think it's one of probably the more subservient things you can do if you see someone who you would hold on a pedestal or put on a pedestal or put above you, for instance. You then go to them with like, oh my God, I can't believe someone did this, in order to try and appease them or please them, because it's one of the most simple ways that one could think it actually pleases someone, because it's an instant gratification. It's instant, the dopamine hit. Oh, that's really interesting. What am I going to get that? However, if this person might actually be above you in sort of whatever way we want to clarify that as, they most likely wouldn't be interested in that as well.
But, I don't necessarily think people even realise they're doing it.
It can be so subconscious.
It is like a social capital, isn't it? Like, it is a currency of, I have this information on someone else. If I share it with this group. And again, it's not a conscious thought, but it's like, I've got something here, which then people will appreciate me and think I'm of value because I have this information that no one else has.
I mean, you always see it when like a friend, not always see it, but it's a very typical example, is when a friend joins a new group, very nervous, not sure how to fit in, instantly make it about bringing someone else down who's not in the group itself. It then connects them all on that same shit, on that shared thing. If they're all agreeing to talk smack about someone else who's not there, that person then feels like they're fitting in more because they have something shared. But they're also, as you said, sharing their currency with them. I have something valuable which you guys think would be interesting. Let me gossip to this other person's detriment, but to my own gain. I'm going to share this gossip about someone else.
And I don't necessarily think I don't want to come here from a place of moral superiority, because I think it's inherently... What's funny?
What?
You're smirking.
I was just listening.
I think it's inherently something that we do from a drive, like a human drive. Like, we want to be connected with people. So therefore, we do that, and it's not like something that's a bad thing to do necessarily,
Yeah.
because it's a human drive.
Yeah.
However, maybe it's up to us to think about, are there other ways we can feel connected with people that's not talking smack on someone else or
Completely agree.
sharing someone else's business. I think that also lends itself, but from my personal experience, when someone's come to me and has told me, and this is a very specific thing, but like within the gossip, it's gossip about myself. Like, oh, this person said this about you. Oh,
Yeah.
this person said this. It only ever gives me a negative view of that other person, of the person that's bringing me the
Yeah.
gossip. And ironically, I believe, I don't know, I can never know their intention because I'm not in their brain, but I believe it's like either this person will benefit from knowing this because they shouldn't be warned if someone else is saying something about them,
Yeah.
or this person will benefit, or I'll benefit because I'll look good for being loyal to them,
Yeah.
by telling them this information.
Yeah.
To me, that does both of the opposite things. I want to take people as I find them, and if someone's talking badly about me,
Yeah.
I believe in, putting energy out and all of those things. I will find the energy, and the energy will find me. If someone's talking
That's
smack
it.
about me,
Yeah.
it'll come to me, and one way or another, I'll be aware. And don't get me wrong, there have been times when I've been completely, absolutely hit like a bus. Like, I would not expect you to have said that about me. That's real, real sad. But generally speaking, when we're talking about low level gossiping and all these things,
Yeah.
that energy and that vibe is picked up. I don't need someone to confirm to me, oh, this person said this specifically about you. Like, it's very much there. Moreover, additionally, on top of that, you think potentially in telling me that you're showing alliance to me and making our connection stronger. Unfortunately, from my personal perspective, other people might have different opinions. My personal perspective, it does the opposite. It shows me a character of a loose mouth. You're wanting to share information, and also you're not necessarily from an altruistic perspective thinking of my well-being, because there's no scenario where someone could be told, oh, this person said something bad about you, and they're going to feel good about themselves. I'm only going to come away from that situation feeling bad about myself. So you telling me that, what purpose does that serve to me? And it just tells me you might not be the most loyal because you're sharing things around with everyone. You might not be thinking about my best interest because really it's not going to make me feel better about myself. And also, it's not very necessary in my personal opinion, because I would probably have known that anyway.
Yeah. No, I think you've said a lot of interesting things there. One of the things being the energy that you put out is the energy that you receive. If you are even unintentionally or intentionally, subconsciously giving off the energy that you're seeking approval, that you're actively, not thinking about someone else because you're busy trying to get approval, that is a selfish way to approach any situation, and that will very much approach you back.
Yeah.
Such a big way in which, I mean, in the whole idea of sharing this information with other people, I think we could all really benefit from just looking inwards a bit more instead of focusing on other people. If we looked inwards, the world, I think, would be a much nicer place. The focusing on what others are doing, the focusing on everything else is what creates these sorts of boundaries that we then put on ourselves because we think we're not good enough or that we can't do something, because it's just, so ingrained in society that, oh, well, I'll talk with this person about this person's failures. So why would these two people not talk about my failures? And so through subconsciously thinking about that, I'm not going to start this thing.
Yeah. That's a good point, because everyone yesterday said that when someone gossips, it just makes me trust them less, because
It does. It makes you trust.
it means they're doing the same about me.
It's so true. Like if someone would just come to me and say, like, out of nowhere, just bring something. Rarely does it happen where it's out of nowhere, but just if it's usually the sort of theme of the conversation, very quickly would I realize that this is probably going to be happening about me behind my back. So whilst I'll entertain these sorts of conversations, I mean, I won't, but whilst I'll sit here to speak to someone on this level, there's no way will I begin to share certain things that I would do with someone that I trust instead.
Yeah.
Thus, it's just the energy that you give off, you receive. It's
Yeah, for sure. I think that we should distinguish with that. It's obviously when you're saying about, negative gossip and sort of maybe toxic gossip, or, well, this person.
yeah, this is much more toxic gossip. Of course, open communication and the sort of general chit chat that we're saying about things is always necessary.
Yeah, I think there's also like people can make reputations for themselves, which
Yeah,
in it's
100%.
slightly ironic because a reputation talks about like needs gossip to make a reputation, I think. But
Very true.
that the irony doesn't fall isn't missed on me. But I think there are people who, for whatever reason, everyone has different values and different perspectives in lives. And for me, I think and again, I try not to sound like I'm coming from a moral superiority place because I really don't intend to be. And I'm the first to say, I put my hands up and say I engage in gossip. But I think I'm a very loyal person and hold loyalty to such a high standard and such a high regard in my connections in every facet of my life.
Yeah.
So for other people, that's not necessarily as important, for whatever reason, good or bad, doesn't matter. But in line with that, I think they don't mind talking about other people so much and really just making a name for themselves of being the person who you also there. I know people from school even to present day who I just actively would not say something to
Yeah.
because I just know that everyone else will know.
Yeah.
And there is no point, and if I don't want my business to be out there, I will most certainly not tell that person. And it could be the most insignificant thing in my life to the most significant thing. They will find a way to be able to tell someone. And I think if that's the level at which you're talking about other people, that is where we maybe should be thinking about why. Is it insecurities? Is it jealousy? Are you really struggling to connect with people in maybe more pro-social ways? Like all of these things I don't know.
I think something so nice, something which is quite respectable as well, is like being able to hold and sit in silence as well, in your own silence. And obviously, if you're in a conversation with someone, you're not going to be silent. Like that's not how a conversation works. But if you're able to sit with a bit of comfort in silence, or just not force something out of discomfort, I think that it shows a lot about the person as well. It's if you're always the first to jump to quit the silence or say something, or whatever it is, that will often be about someone else, because that's the easiest thing to do.
For sure, it is the easiest thing to do,
especially with a new person. So if you're jumping to quickly fill the silence, especially with something about someone else, I think it does take a bit of looking inwards and saying, right, is this actually me? Is it confidence that you have? Do I feel like I'm not worthy of this conversation, that I can sit silently and let them approach me about their thoughts and stuff?
So true.
So it's just knowing your self-confidence and stuff.
Your self-worth.
And in any conversation.
Exactly like you're saying, it might be better to have a silence in a conversation than be like, crap, this is silent, that must mean I'm rubbish at conversations or I'm not enjoyable to be around. Let me fill this silence so we can...
meaningless tats about someone else's life.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying not to be emotionally charged in my language like that.
To be honest,
if that's your experience, then that's valid.
I think
I don't want to be judgmental because...
I mean, we can say be judgmental, but I think realistically, from my experience, I can't speak about yours, but all the people we spoke to in London yesterday, a lot of conversations are directed to people negatively. And whilst the science and evidence you were saying shows that most of it, 70% is neutral.
It does, but it implies like moral immunity or like moral superiority when I'm the first person to hold my hands up and have self-awareness and be like, I'm not better than. And so using that sort of language, like
meaningless
tat, when I know that in some ways, yes, maybe way less than other people who potentially make a reputation for themselves, but I have and do engage in gossip, and I'm personally aware of that, and I don't pretend like I'm not. And I'm not saying you are, but I don't act like I'm better than someone else who also does that, because that infers.
Well, I think from what we're saying, I'd slightly disagree with that. I think from what we're saying, it's whilst chit chat about someone else's life, it often isn't bad.
Yeah.
As I've said and will happily say again, better things can be spoken about, more constructive. And so I'm thinking, from what I was saying, is if in a conversation it goes quiet and your first response is to jump to talk about someone else, I think you should challenge that. I absolutely do. And I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm on my high horse. I don't do this, and
that's the bit
I'm
that I'm picking up on. I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's more like the language around talking about it.
Well, in that, I wasn't even talking about myself in that case. I was talking about what one could do there. I'd like to think I also try intentionally, as I have with you and other people as well, said, why are we talking about this? What is the point? What does it serve us here? Like, for that sort of case. And whilst it might get a bit of hate because it might seem like I'm trying to sit on a bit of a moral high horse, I challenge that because I don't know how much it does actually bring me any joy.
Yeah.
And asking about someone's family or mum because you care, that's not what I'm referencing.
No, of course. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm a big gossiper and I want to do all of that. I'm very acutely aware of, I don't want to be someone who isn't aware of my own actions. So saying to this person, guys, you shouldn't be gossiping, that's really bad, while 2 days later, without realizing I'm gossiping about someone, which is why in that moment when in Rome you were like, we shouldn't be doing this. And it did, and I said in the moment, it came from a bit of a moral high ground, it felt like at the moment. And then literally a matter of days later, you came to me with something else and saying, oh, this person's doing this thing on whatever. And I was like, oh, interesting that you wanted to bring that up. Where's that come from? And it's just an example of more so that we're continually developing and continually trying to be better people. So I'm not inoculated from that, because even though I might not strive to be continually gossiping and I don't necessarily want to be doing that, it happens. And it
does then mean then, like, if you're saying that obviously even if we do it and we don't necessarily want to, is then challenging other people when we don't want to do it wrong because we have done it in our past?
No, I don't think so. It just depends. I think it's more about like the language and angle at which we challenge it. Like there have been instances in recent weeks where some of my best friends have been gossiping about whatever, and I've been sitting there, and I, for the most part, in that moment, very much in the past, have engaged in that gossip and might do again in the future. But in that moment, I was very aware of, actually, that's something I want to continue to be better at. So I just stayed silent in that conversation. My silence was powerful, I think, and I didn't need to say, guys, you shouldn't be talking about this person. Guys, we shouldn't be doing this.
There's of course a time and place. Very rarely will I be like a Jaden Smith. Can we just talk about the political, economic state of the world right now? Like I'm not going to be like that in a group, but in a trusted and confined friendship where you're like, where it's just one-on-one and it's someone who you are comfortable enough to call out. I think there's nothing wrong with being like, is this what we want to do? Like Jude and our family on holiday, he wouldn't be in a new group of people there who were talking smack about someone and be like, guys, can we just focus on the future here? Like, I imagine he wouldn't be like that. Whereas with us, we're just chewing the fat a bit and having probably a bit of gossip, which we shouldn't have. He'd rightfully called out in safety, like, what? We have an amazing view here. We have an amazing holiday. Why are we talking about this little thing here?
Yeah, because both instances when I brought it up to you and you challenged me, and then 2 days later or whatever, you did the same. I can objectively say both of those were low energy, low vibration, sort of like neither of those were helping anyone in having those conversations. They weren't,
shows that we need to grow.
They weren't, I guess objectively, they weren't kind. They weren't looking out for that person. They weren't saying, how's that person? They were making observations or passing on information between us that wasn't very necessary.
Shows we're not relinquished of these things, and we're still very much growing as well.
Other people might completely disagree with us, which I would love to hear about, being like, no, we enjoy sharing information about people, and it's important to do so because it allows us to feel like whatever. I'd love to hear, but for me and for you as well, speaking about people in a negative or observational, slightly judgmental in tone way doesn't do anything for my daily living, and if anything, it only puts negative energy out there when I want to be exuding positive energy. But
of course,
I say that while acknowledging that is something that I'm not perfect at.
Of course,
for sure.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think also. Sorry, can I you're going to say something? Shall I carry on? I think also a lot of what we could talk about in terms of gossip is, which you very much already mentioned, but about your own happiness in yourself. And it's the same with, people who cheer people on, and jealousy, those sorts of things. People a lot mentioned jealousy yesterday. Sorry, that's poor English. People mentioned jealousy a lot yesterday. And people gossip from a place of jealousy and envy. And where does jealousy and envy come from? It comes from dissatisfaction and unhappiness with oneself. If we're gossiping about someone, which we know, and if we're honest with ourselves, we know if we're gossiping in a
catty
nasty,
way.
catty way. If
Of
we
course.
truly sit with that honesty and ourselves and the introspection, if you think about the happiest people, do they need to be horrible to someone else? It's the same as
Serves them nothing.
when you leave someone a hateful comment on Instagram, or when someone is horrible to someone else or judges someone else. Those things, in my opinion, only ever occur when someone has their own problems. Now, don't get me wrong. We can all say Hitler was objectively a bad person and maybe judge his behaviors. But if someone's just living their life and not objectively hurting other people, or not, they're just living their life in a neutral way, not committing a mass genocide, and you're sitting there judging them, observing them, sharing that judgment with other people, are you the happiest you could be? Are you focused on what's making you happy? Are you focused on your productivity? Are you focused on what's good in your life? Because I'm maybe thinking if you were all of those things, you would be maybe distracted, you would be occupied, you would be all of the above to not even need to see that, let alone cast judgment on it.
Yeah. It's a good point.
And again, I'm not inoculated from that myself as well, but
it all comes from within.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Marcus, can you summarize the theory for us?
I can summarize the theory. So we have the evolutionary theory, which says that we as social beings, we have evolved to be social for survival. And as part of that social mechanism, we live in tribes, we live in groups. And to survive in our groups, we need to be connected and bonded. Sharing information and sharing information about other people serves as a connection between people and bonds between people. It also, one step further, serves as a survival mechanism because it allows us to gather information about who might be a threat, whose behaviors are pro-social versus antisocial, and who we might want to avoid or not affiliate ourselves with. That then leans itself to the moral theory or moral hypothesis, which is that as human beings we gossip to allow ourselves to enforce group norms, and by indirectly sharing information as opposed to confronting people, by gossiping about them instead, we enforce those norms by enforcing what's normal, what's acceptable, and therefore what isn't acceptable. And therefore people can be indirectly shunned, or information can be directly sort of shared to say this is what is acceptable, this isn't, via idle chit chat, as opposed to saying to someone that's wrong, I don't like that. There becomes a hierarchy, someone might then be shunned out by that gossip, all of those things, and that's a moral driver that allows you to allow moral equilibrium within your society.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, do we have some advice for that?
We do have advice. Of course, we have advice, as we always do.
Of course.
Advice for dealing with gossip, whether that's how to maybe reduce the amount you're gossiping or just actually dealing with gossip as it arises in the first place.
Of course. So, tip number 1 is to use gossip as connection and not as control.
Number 2, decode and unpack the message and the reason behind why we're gossiping.
Number 3, I quite like this one, is know when to zip it. Know when to be quiet.
Number 4, reclaim the conversation.
Yes, and number 5 is protect yourself from being the subject of that gossip. So be boundaried with it.
Yeah. Nice. So back up to using it as a connection, not control.
Yeah. I think one of the main things is to ask yourself, am I sharing this to connect? Is to genuinely ask yourself, am I sharing this to connect with this person or to control? So you should really try and focus on stories that build character, not to destroy character in any sort of field, whether that's yourself, someone else, or that person who you're speaking to. Try and, if you're speaking to someone, again, not all gossip is bad, make sure it's either neutral or positive, because that would help build character.
It does, and it comes back to also very nicely links into the evolutionary mechanisms and the moral mechanisms. If we're doing it to control, is an idea that we're trying to control our relationships, we're trying to control the morals in our groups and all those sorts of things. If we focus more on the connection, it allows us to just really foster what's important and not try and control what other people are doing, and just focus on, well, I can control my connection. All I have is me and this person in front of me. Let's connect with each other. Let's have empathy with each other. If we do end up speaking about this person, why not lead with empathy and connection through all people as opposed to trying to control them and what they're doing? Yeah?
Completely. Yeah.
And that very much lends into the second point, which is decoding and unpacking the reason and the message behind why we're gossiping. It it often gives us unmet needs, right? We say things like validation, boredom, insecurity, loneliness. We gossip to fulfill those sorts of things, to give us those connections, to give us feeling like we're being seen in a group of people that we might not know.
Yeah.
If I think it helps a lot to just understand that in the first place, and just
Yeah.
like I say, unpack that and decode that. Why am I sharing this information? Oh, it's because I feel like inadequate in this group and I need some sort of social standing.
Yeah.
If that's the case, that's very real and a very human experience, but we can remedy that in another way that's not necessarily gossip and talking smack about someone. We can share connections with people. We can, like the first point, connect with someone through empathy, through asking them about their lives, through sharing your own reflections about your lives that isn't about other people.
It comes from the confidence that you have within yourself. I think it does stem from that. It comes from the confidence of, can you sit here and know,
Yeah, and it's
know where it's coming from. It's not easy.
a slight tangent, but like knowing in a social setting that person, the spotlight effect, right? We are so busy focusing about ourselves and what other people are thinking about us. That ironically everyone's doing the same thing, so no one's really thinking about each other.
Of course.
In that social setting. So if you lead a conversation in a group scenario with that, and just remember, that person's also thinking, "God, I'm probably bad at conversations. This person's analyzing me in this moment." You're both thinking that. You don't need to not stoop, because I don't want to sound judgmental, but for lack of a better word, stoop to chatting smack about other people to impress each other, because you both are trying to impress each other. And if you just have humility and knowing that in itself, it allows you to sit in that confidence, like you say, of just being present in that moment and, confidently speaking about yourself, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. The next one is know when to zip it. So this is quite a good one. It is quite as literal as it says, is practice some emotional containment. So a great question to ask yourself is, would I say this if they were here?
Yeah.
It's a great question. If who you're speaking about is there, would you say it? And if you wouldn't say it, maybe try and ask yourself the question of, maybe, I shouldn't be saying this. Or a good way to even say it in conversation is, not my story to like say, or not my thing to tell. That's not on me. You can ask them about it, but that's not on me to say. Of course, from good intentions, it's great to sort of big up people, big up your friends, but knowing when to not say something is also fine. And you actually hold a lot of power in practicing that sort of emotional containment. You can sort of build trust with yourself, with other people, because you have these boundaries which you set. Someone else, whether how high you hold them on a pedestal, is not going to come in and wreck those boundaries.
It comes to loyalty hugely, this one, which again I appreciate some people prioritize over more than others, but it's hugely about loyalty. Someone literally the other day asked me, "Oh, what's going on with Charlie and this thing?" I haven't told you because there's no point, but like in that moment, I'm not saying this to be like on a moral high ground, but I very much went, like, it just reminded me because you said the words. I was like, it's not really my business to tell, so you should probably ask him. And not in a rude way, but it was just like I don't want to, because I'm loyal to my mate and I don't want to share that. And if you wanted to know, you could ask him.
I think often, as we saw from the interviews yesterday as well, like something that we were asking people was, why do you think humans we like gossip? What should we be doing? All these sorts of questions. A large part of what people are saying is, or one guy in particular, Matthew, I think it was saying, was if you have something to ask someone, good or bad, go to them directly. Now as humans, because we've become so detached in general, we ask other people through other people instead of just going to this person. I don't know who that was and what they asked. They could have easily come up to me and asked that. I'm sure I would have given them a great answer. But they went outside because probably didn't want to have that interaction with me due to the discomfort within that.
Leads on to reclaim the conversation, which I feel like is my slight example there was kind of doing that, but it's reclaiming the conversation twofold. If you feel like you really need to engage in that gossip, let's lead again, maybe with more of an empathetic stance. Like, instead of being like, "Oh, I can't believe they did that. That's so gross. That's weird," or whatever. Maybe be inquisitive. Maybe what's wrong with them? I hope they're okay. What must have gone on for them to decide to do that? We're all humans. We're all acting the best way we know how in every day. 95% of us. We're not all out here trying to be bad unless you have psychopathy or whatever. So give people the benefit of the doubt and maybe act with empathy as opposed to judgment. But if you need to engage in that gossip, moreover, if people around you are engaging in gossip and you don't want to, reclaim the conversation in a sense of, should we talk about something else? Or you don't have to be, if you don't have the confidence to do it in that way that feels like you're being challenging to the group, you can subtly make an observation. Oh, that over there looks really cool. Or, there's ways to redirect a conversation, even if it's non-confrontational, that allows you to just completely pivot away from speaking about other people.
It's true.
And you're in your power to do that.
I completely agree. Yeah. I think that sort of feeds quite nicely as well into the last sort of tool and tip that we have is to protect yourself from being the subject. So whilst you can't control other people and what they say and do, you can control how you react. So a really good example of how you can protect yourself from being the subject is, are you communicating to these people who are doing it that you don't like this, first off? So are you setting that boundary? So say your friend does go and say something and you find it out, go to them and say, why are you speaking about me behind my back like that? I don't like that. I don't respect that. Don't do it again. It's a great way of setting that boundary. You can do that nicely, but still setting that boundary firmly. Or another way is find and surround yourself with people who, if they do talk about you behind your back, it's good things. It's genuinely from a good place. It's surrounding yourself with people who do that. Now, are you surrounding yourself with people who, talk smack about people to you, or, you to other people, whatever it is? You can't control how other people are. You can only control yourself. So to protect yourself from being the subject of this gossip, surround yourself with people who talk good about you behind your back.
Yeah, for sure.
If they do.
Yeah. And in line with that, I think it's kind of a reputation you make for yourself. If you're that person that's always gossiping, people know that about you. So then they're probably more likely to talk about you. Whereas if you're a boundaried person who doesn't engage in that, that definitely is an energy that, again, it's the energy that you put out is what comes back to you. And it's fully, I see it so much.
Interesting.
Yeah, well,
I've learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
Gossip's
I
not
love
always
it
bad.
so much. It's not always bad, but there are ways that I do think, in general, we
can hold ourselves.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
With every facet of life, holding ourselves to account and other people to account without being morally superior, I think.
Yeah.
Because who am I to judge anyone for anything?
Of course. Who are you?
He says. Can't believe they did that.
Jeez, golly.
Is that what you're wearing?
Jolly. Anyway,
yes.
Marcus, do you have a mood boost for us?
Do I have a mood boost? I do indeed.
Good. Yeah.
My mood boost comes from Sophia. She took herself solo date to see Oasis on the weekend.
Very cool.
And she just said she had the most incredible euphoric time seeing Oasis by herself she was like, yeah, I could only get one ticket, so I went and had a lovely time, and she really enjoyed her company and enjoyed the concert and said it was extremely nostalgic. So big shout out to Sophia.
Power to that. I love doing things alone or solo. I think it's great. So power to Sophia. Well done. Yeah. Since you're asking, my mood boost was Calvin for this week. Calvin, he and his partner moved from New York to the UK recently, or to London. And he's finally finished moving all his furniture. He's finally in London.
Big up, Calvin.
Big apple to big smoke.
Big apple
he's
to
made
big
the
smoke.
move. Well done, Calvin.
Well done, Calvin.
Mood boost of the week.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Nice.
Wow. Thank you for that conversation.
That was a lovely conversation as always.
Hopefully you enjoyed it and learned something as well.
Yes.
Yes. On gossip.
Don't judge yourself.
Don't gossip. Or if
out.
you do, make it good.
Yeah.
Right, I'll turn off this.
Peace out. ASMR. So, I've got something to tell you. Basically, Charlie told me this thing about his life.